So let's use the CAGED system to move our E, A, and D chords up the fretboard and turn them into chords with different letter names. So for instance, let's say we have an A chord. Okay. Well, when we play an A chord like this, we've got these notes fretted, but we're also playing open notes, which are ringing back here, right? Well, imagine your finger was back here. Imagine the nut is actually a fret. So what that means then is if you move these up by one fret, you have to move this up by one fret. Now your A chord is a B flat chord. You move it up one more fret, it's a B. Move it up one more fret, it's a C. When you're playing that A, the note that is an A in that chord is this open fifth string, right? So when you play a B flat, this note right here, that's your B flat. So that tells you what the name of the chord is, okay? Same thing with the E. If you have an E chord, you can refinger it, imagine that's a fret, move it up by one. You have an F chord now because this is an F note on the thickest string, okay? Move it up to the third fret, you get a G, okay? So if you know the notes on your thickest string, you can move your E shape all the way up and down. If you know the notes on the fifth string, you can move your A shape all the way up and down. If you know the notes on your fourth string, you can then take this D chord, which open on the fourth string is a D. You can refinger it, move it up one fret, and put the bar behind it. Now you have an E flat chord. If you move it up by one more fret, you have an E. That's an E because that note is an E note. Okay? Now, from the last video, we learned how to alter the E, A, and the D to make them minor, make them a seventh, make them a major seventh, a suspended fourth, or combinations of any of those. Well, we can do the same thing then with the bar. So imagine we take an A chord, you move it up to the third fret, right? So now it's a C chord. Well, say I want to make that a C suspended 4. Well, I take which one of these three fingers, I take the one that's on the thinnest string, it's the one closest to the ground, I move it up by one fret, okay? And I leave the bar on there. So now that's a C suspended 4, because that was our rule from the last video, right? What if I wanted to be a C7 suspended 4? Well, for a seventh, remember we move the middle of these three notes back by 2 frets. So you just lift it, because then that puts it back where the bar is. So now you have a C7 suspended 4, right? Let's do another one. What if I have an E, and I want to use this form, but I want to play a G sharp chord. Okay, well I take it here. I have a G sharp on my 4th fret, so I'm going to put my index finger right there and play this chord right here. And then say I want to make it a major 7. Well, I move the middle of these three notes back by 1 fret. Then say I want to make it a major 7 with a suspended 4. Well, then I'm going to move this thinnest one up by 1 fret. So I have to refinger it. It's going to look like that. Okay? I can do the same thing with the D. Say I take a D chord, I refinger it like this, move it up by 2 frets, I get an E chord. I want to make it E minor, I move the thinnest string back by 1 fret. That shape is the same shape that we had for D minor. We just played it with different fingers, right? Say I want it to be an E minor 7. Well, I take the middle one then and move it back by 2 frets, so I have to refinger that and play it like that. Okay? So now you can play any letter name, sharp or flat, and make it a major, minor, a 7th, a major 7th, a suspended 4, or any combination of those. Okay? Hope that helps.